The Volume of Time, page 31 to page 40. Ibn Aqil says before his death, "Let me delight in meeting Allah." Ibn al-Jawzi said that when Imam Abul Wafa ibn Aqil was on his deathbed, women began to cry. Abul Wafa then said, "I had signed on Allah's behalf." That is, he used to issue fatwa, clarifying the ruling of Allah on various issues and events between people, for 50 years, so leave me to delight in meeting him. This eminent Imam only left behind his books and the clothes he was wearing, which was sufficient to pay for his shroud and debts. May Allah have mercy on him and reward him for service to knowledge. Dear reader, reflect on how using one's intellect, saving time, self-discipline, and spending time on seeking knowledge and good can produce incredible results. Books that are 800 volumes long, the largest book in the world, written by one person, Abul Wafa ibn Aqil, in addition to many other books, reaching over 20 books, some of which contain 10 volumes. Little things add up to a lot, and streams add gathering of drops. There is nothing more true or beautiful than what Imam Ibn an-Nahas al-Halabi, Muhammad ibn Ibrahim, who died in 698 AH, may Allah have mercy on him, wrote, indicating that by doing a little regularly, it adds up to an immense and amazingly great amount. As in the case of Abul Wafa ibn Aqil, he wrote in the biography of As-Suyuti in Bughiyat al-Wu'at, "To do a thing today and the same tomorrow, gathering is the essence of knowledge. Thus, one may achieve wisdom, for streams are but the gathering of drops." Ibn al-Jawzi's writings exceed 500 books. As for Imam Abul Faraj ibn al-Jawzi, Abdurrahman ibn Ali al-Hanbali al-Baghdadi, he was born in 508 AH and died in 597 AH. He lived for 89 years and wrote over 500 books. The necessity of knowing the importance of time and filling it with the best of occupations. Here is some of Ibn al-Jawzi's biography in order to perceive how he was very aware of the excellence of time and its value, and how he saved time when he had visitors who lengthened their visits. He, may Allah have mercy on him, wrote in his book Sayyid al-Khatir and al-Adab al-Shari'ah of Ibn Muflih al-Hanbali. One must know the value of his time and its great importance, so that he should not waste even one moment except in worship, and should use it for the best, in order of priority, in speech and action. One's intention to seek goodness must be ever present, with no slackness, as much as the body is able to bear, for as the Sahih Hadith says, the intention of the believer is better than his action. Most people waste time in useless matters. Ibn al-Jawzi said, "I have seen the majority of people making strange use of time, spending long nights in useless talk, or reading books of ghazal, love poetry, and entertainment, and spending long days in sleep, and you would find them at the end of the day by the river Dijla or in the markets. I liken them to people chatting whilst on a ship that is moving fast, whilst they are unaware of its movement. I found that rare were those who understood the essence of existence, and it is those you find gathering their provisions and preparing for their departure. Thus, be ever conscious of the passing of time and hasten to use it before it is too late, and compete against time." Ibn al-Jawzi seeks refuge from the company of the idle. Ibn al-Jawzi said, "I seek refuge from the company of the idle. I have seen many people who deal with me as they are accustomed to deal with others by repetitive visits, and they call that a service. They lengthen their sitting, and talk of things that are of no concern to us, moreover, containing backbiting. This is something that many people nowadays do. Perhaps some hosts require such talk, await it, and may feel loneliness without such visits, especially on the days of festivals and Eid, when they visit one another, and are not satisfied with congratulations and greetings, but fall into what I have mentioned before, wasting their time. Pursued activities that did not hinder attending to guests. Ibn al-Jawzi said, realizing that time is the noblest of things and that using it to do good is a duty. I disliked such behaviour and remained with them torn between two things. If I condemn it, I would cause discomfort, for it would be against social customs. And if I accepted it, time would be lost. Thus, I avoided such meetings as much as possible, and in the case of such visits taking place, I spoke little to hasten the departure. I would prepare tasks that did not hinder conversation during these visits, so that time would not be lost in vain. Thus, I would, during such visits, cut paper, sharpen pencils, and bind books, for these are necessary duties which require no great presence of mind or intellect, and busied myself with such activities during their visits, in order not to waste any of my time. Only the successful realize the nobleness of time. Ibn al-Jawzi said, I saw many people who do not know the true meaning of life, for there are those who have been blessed by Allah by being rich and not needing to work, and you find them sitting in the markets most of the day looking at people, watching many an evil thing. Some of them enjoy playing chess. Others pass their time telling stories about the rulers and about the rise and fall of prices, and so on. I discovered that Allah, glorified be He, did not guide people to the realization of the nobleness of time and the importance of times of health, except the successful ones whom He blessed and guided. And no one will be granted such goodness except persons of the greatest good fortune. We ask Allah, praised and glorified be He, to guide us to know the value of time and to enable us to use it. How the Salaf conserved time and avoided wasting it. The early ones, the Salaf, used to avoid wasting time. Imam Fudail ibn Iyad said, I know people who count the words they say from one Friday to the next. Some people came to a man from the Salaf and said, we hope that we are not disturbing you. He said, to be honest, I was reading, and because of you, I had to leave it. An ascetic came to As-Sari al-Saqati and found a group of people with him and said, you have become the meeting place of the idle. He left and did not sit down. If the host is too soft, the visitor would wish to lengthen the visit further, and the host would thus be harmed. There was once a group of people sitting with Maruf al-Karhi when their stay became too long. He said, the angel of the sun will not tire of leading it. When do you intend to leave? Glorious examples of good use of time by the Salaf. Some of the Salaf would use every moment of their time. Dawood Atai used to eat breadcrumbs, and he used to say, the difference between eating crumbs and chewing bread is the reading of 50 verses. Uthman al-Baqilani was always remembering Allah, and he said, at meal times I feel as if my soul is about to leave my body, because eating keeps me away from dhikr. One of the Salaf advised his companions, when you leave my house, go separately, thus one of you may read Quran on his way, whilst when you go together you would be chatting. Know that time is too valuable to have even one moment wasted, for in the Sahih Hadith the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says, glory be to God, the Magnificent, and praise be to Him, Subhanallah al-Azim wa bihamdi, will have a palm tree planted for him in paradise. How many hours does one waste thus missing abundant reward? These days are like a farm. Is it then wise for one to stop planting seeds or to slacken in doing so? Things that help to conserve time. Among the things that help one to profit from time: solitude as much as possible, keeping to greeting and necessary talk with those one meets, and eating little, for excessive eating causes one to sleep for long hours and waste the night hours. Whoever looks into the lives of the Salaf and believes in reward will realize the truth of what I have mentioned. The great resolve of the scholars of the Salaf and the excellence of their writings. The determination and self-discipline of the early scholars were high, which is reflected in their writings, which were the essence of their lives, despite the fact that most of their writings have been lost. This is because the ambition and determination of students has weakened, such that when they become only interested in summaries, and were not motivated to write lengthy works, and they moreover became content with studying a few books, leading to the loss of many books that were not copied. The path to be followed by the student of knowledge seeking perfection is to read the various books, and he should read much, for thus he would be inspired and stimulated by the knowledge of scholars and their great feats, which would motivate him to undertake arduous work. Moreover, no book is devoid of some benefit to be acquired from it. I seek refuge from the lives of these contemporary people, in whom we see no high aspiration to inspire beginners, nor any great piety to inspire ascetics. I admonish you to study the biographies of those before you and to read their writings, for reading their books is like seeing them, as it is said, I cannot see those homes with my eye. Perhaps I may see these homes with my hearing. Ibn al-Jawzi's thirst for knowledge and attachment to books. Ibn al-Jawzi said, if I were to describe my state, then I am never content with reading books, and when I see a book that I had not seen before, it is as if I have found a treasure. I looked at the catalogue of books at the Madrasa al-Nazamiyah, and it contained around 6,000 books. I also looked at the index of the writings of Abu Hanifa, the books of al-Humaydi, Muhammad ibn Fatu al-Andalusi al-Baghdadi, the companion of Ibn Hazm, and the books of our Shaykh Abdul Wahhab al-Anmati, those of Ibn Nasir, the books of Abu Muhammad al-Khashab, which were numerous, and other books which I was able to read. And if I said that I read 20,000 books, then in truth it would be more, and I was then still a student. I benefited from reading those books by observing the lives of the early people, and the extent of their memorization, their determination, their worship, the diversity of their disciples, of which one would not know had one not read those books. Thus I disliked the current state of people, and looked down on the weak determination of students nowadays, and to Allah is all praise. Every soul is a container, so let not your container be empty. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, may Allah have mercy on him, also said in his gentle letter of advice to his son, called Laftat al-Kabid fin Nasihat al-Walad, urging his son to preserve his time. Know, dear son, that days are but hours, and hours are but breaths, and every soul is a container. Hence, let not any breath pass without any benefit, such that on the day of judgment you find an empty container and feel regret. Be aware of every hour and how it passes, and only spend it in the best possible way. Do not neglect yourself, but render it accustomed to the noblest and best of actions, and send to your grave that which will please you when you arrive to it. Ibn al-Jawzi writes 4 notebooks every day. Al-Hafid ibn Rajab wrote in Adhail Tabaqat al-Hanabila in his biography of Ibn al-Jawzi. He did not leave any discipline without writing a book in it, When asked about the number of his writings, he said, more than 340 books, some of which contain 20 volumes, while some are only one notebook long. Al-Muwafiq Abdul Latif said, Ibn al-Jawzi wasted no time. He used to write 4 notebooks every day and wrote every year between 50 to 60 volumes. Ibn al-Jawzi wrote 2,000 volumes by hand. Al-Dhahabi in Tadkhirat al-Hufad and Ibn Rajab in al-Dayl reported that Abu al-Musafir, the grandson of Ibn al-Jawzi, said, I heard my grandfather saying whilst on the pulpit, towards the end of his life, I wrote with these 2 fingers of mine 2,000 volumes. Ibn al-Wardi wrote in Tatimat al-Muqtasir fi Akbar al-Bashar, it is reported that the books written by Abu al-Faraj Ibn al-Jawzi were collected, and then the number of days he lived were calculated, and the number of books was divided by his lifetime, and it was concluded that he wrote 9 notebooks every day. The pencil shavings of Ibn al-Jawzi used to heat water for washing his body in preparation for his funeral. Al-Qummi wrote in Al-Kuna wal-Alqab, the shavings of Ibn al-Jawzi's pencils with which he wrote hadith were gathered, and came to a large amount. He had requested that they be used to heat the water with which his body would be washed after his death, and so it was done, and they were more than sufficient. Ustad Abdul Hamid al-Alwaji of Iraq had written a book entitled Mu'allafat Ibn al-Jawzi, which was published by the Iraqi Ministry of Culture and Guidance in the year 1385 AH, in which he enumerated Ibn al-Jawzi's books, which came to 519, varying in size from large 10-volume books to small booklets, and he missed some of his writings. Ibn Taymiyyah said the writings of Ibn al-Jawzi exceed 1,000. In the introduction to Mu'allafat Ibn al-Jawzi, al-Alwaji wrote, Al-Hafid Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali wrote in Tahil Tabaqat al-Hanabila that Imam Ibn Taymiyyah said in his Al-Ajwibah al-Misriyah, Shaykh Abul Faraj Ibn al-Jawzi wrote many books on many issues. I had enumerated them and found them to be over 1,000 books, and later I saw others I had not included. Al-Dhahabi on the size of Ibn al-Jawzi's works. Al-Dhahabi wrote in Tadkhirat al-Hufad after mentioning a number of Imam Ibn al-Jawzi's writings, I had not heard of any scholar who wrote as much as this man. Then he reported the saying of Al-Muwafiq Abdul Latif about Ibn al-Jawzi. He wasted nothing from time. He used to write 4 notebooks daily, in addition to his duties of teaching, compilation and issuing fatwas, and he has made a contribution in every fold of learning. Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi's Management of Time. It is written in Tadkhirat al-Hufad in the biography of Al-Hafid Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi, born 541 AH, died 600 AH, may Allah have mercy on him, that the Imam, scholar of Hadith, Taqiyuddin Abu Muhammad Abdul Ghani ibn Abdul Wahid al-Maqdisi al-Jamari, later al-Damashqi al-Zalehi al-Hanbali, wrote 1,000 books, according to Abu Tahir as-Salafi. He wrote an innumerable number of books, and he continued to write, narrate, and worship Allah until his death. Al-Diya al-Maqdisi, his student, said that his teacher wasted none of his time. He used to pray Fajr, then teach Quran, and perhaps he would also teach Hadith. Then he would make ablution and pray 300 rakat with al-Fatiha and Surat al-Falaq and Surat al-Nas until just before the time of Dhuhr. Then he would sleep for a short time, then pray Dhuhr, after which he would teach or write until Maghrib. He would then break his fast if he had been fasting, then pray Isha, and sleep till midnight or a little later. Then he would make ablution and pray, and repeat that until just before Fajr. he would make ablution 7 times or more. He used to say, "I like to pray as long as my body is still humid." Then he would sleep for a short time until Fajr, and that was his schedule. He left behind over 40 books, including some precious gems. See his rich biography in Untitled Chapter al-Hanabila of Ibn Rajab. Al-Fakhr al-Razi regrets the time spent eating. The historian and doctor Ibn Abu Usaybiyah wrote in his book Uyun al-Anba fil Tabaqat al-Aqtiba, in the biography of Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, the scholar of tafsir, usul and theology, Muhammad ibn Omar, born in 543, died 606 at the age of 63, may Allah have mercy on him, author of over 200 books, varying in size from a 32-volume book such as his famous tafsir to short treatises. Judge Shamsuddin al-Khawi related to us regarding Shaykh Fakhruddin that he said, "By Allah, indeed I regret spending time that could be spent seeking knowledge in eating, for indeed time is precious." Ibn Suqayna's conservation of time and its use in good deeds. Narrator and historian Ibn al-Najir wrote in Dakhil Tariq Baghdad and Ad-Dahabi in Siyar al-Am al-Nubala in their biographies of Ibn Suqayna. The Sheikh, Imam, scholar of fiqh, and trustworthy narrator of hadith, the great example, the scholar of Islam and pride of Iraq, Dhiya al-Din Abu Ahmed Abdul Wahhab ibn Ali ibn Suqayna al-Baghdadi al-Sufi al-Shafi, born 519 AH, died 607 AH. He was the greatest scholar of his time in excellence of narration, knowledge, perfection, asceticism, worship, and good character, following the sunnah and the way of the pious predecessors. Allah blessed him with a long life until he repeated all his narrations many times. He was sought by students of knowledge from all countries. His times were preserved, his words counted. Not a single hour passed without recitation of the Quran, dhikr, tahajjud, or teaching. He would forbid people from unnecessary and unbeneficial talk or backbiting in his gathering. He left his house only to attend congregational prayer, Eid, or funerals, and did not attend the common gatherings of the people. His student Ibn al-Najir said, "I travelled in the east and the west, and saw scholars, imams, and ascetics, yet saw no one who reached higher perfection, was more devoted to worship, or had better character than him. I accompanied him for 20 years, night and day, and heard most of his narrations, and studied long works under him, and benefited greatly from him." Ibn Suqayna advises his students, "Do not say more than Salam Alaikum." Yahya ibn al-Qasim, the teacher at An-Nizamiyah, said that Ibn Suqayna was exemplary in knowledge and action. He wasted no time. When we entered his gathering, he would say, "Do not add more than Salam Alaikum," out of concern and desire to use time for discussing and approving rulings. Al-Madrasa al-Nazamiyah was the most prestigious school in Baghdad at the time. How amazing indeed! He asks them to shorten the greeting and not to waste time with the usual compliments when people meet, and orders them to begin study and discussion after the first greeting in order to save time.